Hi, my name is Tova Jacober. I used to go by Toby, so you may remember me as Toby Jacober when I coached here in the late 80s and early 90s, and I'm very sorry for your loss. I just want to say a few words because there hasn't really been a feminine voice represented up here, and I'm one of the people that Coach Q gave a chance to. He hired me as a volunteer my first year here, Mark Wetmore and me back in, I can't remember what year it was exactly, but that's when the budget was tight in track and field and cross country. And I had been a competitive distance runner and had never coached before, and at least not officially. And he was willing to take me on and give me a chance, even with my lack of experience. And that first year was sort of like my audition. And he asked me to write a program out for the whole season, a training program out for the whole season, and give it to him. And so one of the great lessons of that, I worked hard on that for weeks, to think ahead and think about the championships and the Big Eight at that time, the Big Eight championships and different invitationals, and plan ahead and make sure the kids had enough rest time and be tapered and all of that. And the great lesson of that was it really taught me to plan ahead, and not just in training but in all things. And the other thing about Q that lives in me is that his kindness. The Dalai Lama, when asked, what is your religion, answered that my religion is kindness. And I think that was Q's religion, kindness. I don't know much about his religious background, but I know that he's very committed to that with every single person. And it lives on in me, and it's something that I now transmit to my own two daughters. Another thing that I really loved about Q is that he really was someone who gave every single person a chance. We at that time here, we took all walk-ons. And so anyone who wanted to try out for the team and give it a chance, or give it a shot, even if they didn't have much of a running history, he was willing to take them on, even if they were really, as long as they were committed to show up. And what happened with that is a lot of the kids who joined the team wound up, because of his belief and teaching me to have that belief as well in the athletes who came, that a lot of them wound up being amazing athletes and wound up becoming scholarship athletes and qualifying for national championships or becoming All-Americans. In fact, there's probably a few here that maybe, is there anyone here who started out as a walk-on and wound up becoming an All-American and qualifying for some championship or other? So a few people raised their hand in this room, and so he was someone who was willing to give everyone a chance. The other lesson that I really is his legacy, and I hear from everyone who's spoken already, is his positivity. I'm now part of this coaching organization called the Positive Coaching Alliance, and I think Q was his own Positive Coaching Alliance. He could have founded that organization, but it's a wonderful organization to foster, to take the focus away, not from just competition, but really help coaches to foster good people and good values in young people. And I work with school age and middle schoolers now, and I tell you that I'm a better person and a better human being and a better coach from my time with Coach Quiller and having him as my boss and my friend and my mentor. So, and one little story. I remember, I think it was on the way home from the Big Eight championships. We'd done really well and everybody was excited and relieved that it was over, and we'd taken the bus ride home from, may have been Nebraska, but we had to stop, and we had to either spend the night, I think we had to spend the night in Nebraska before we left the next day, and the kids were wild. They just wanted to just have a good time that night, and so they were running up and down the hallways, and Coach Cooler had to poke his head out the door a few times and tell everybody to get back to their rooms, and we got a few phone calls, and that didn't work completely. So what he wound up doing was sitting in the hallway all night long. I remember seeing one of these pictures where he's sitting there schnoozing, and that's what happened. He basically just sat in the hallway and just put his head on his knees and just slept in the hallway. I found him out there, early in the morning the next day, just still sleeping. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Starting to run late here just a little bit, but looks like we have maybe one, maybe two people left, and then we're going to draw it to a close at that point. So the last couple here.
Okay, I'm Tyson. I'm Jerry's nephew. I wasn't planning on saying anything, but a story came to mind while I was listening to Ryan about confidence and about getting the best out of knowing that you are capable of more than you think you're capable of. You'll remember this story, Dad. I'll try and keep it quick. This was about 6 months ago, and right now I'm training to try and be an officer in the Marine Corps, and so I'm really, really green as far as distance running. So, we decided one weekend I was up here in Boulder. I live in Albuquerque, and said, who can we talk to about figuring out how to pace out, because there's a 3 mile, timed 3 mile as far as our qualifying. So of course we're going to go talk to Uncle Jer. And so we go out and we're talking to Uncle Jer, and I was going to run a 2x2 mile workout or something afterwards on a big 1 or 2 mile loop. But so we get there and we're talking to him, and he goes, well, what are we talking? Let's just go over to Monarch Track and let me watch you run. And I was like, oh my God. So we get over there, and I like running on big loops. I'm sure you distance runners here know a lot better than I do, but because that way on the backside I can sort of take it easy and I don't have anybody yelling at me. Well, we go over, and this is a 400-meter track, so a 2 mile, that's 16 laps. And so I got my dad on one side and Jer's on the other, so every 200 meters somebody's yelling at me. And he says, what time do you have to have in the 3 mile? And I said, well, like 18 minutes. So he says, okay, well, so as we're driving over there, sure enough, we get there, and he's got scribbled out every time I come around as far as to make 12 minutes. And I'm nowhere near running that fast. I'm trying to get to that point. So every time I come around, he's going, it's too slow, we gotta pick it up. And I'm just shaking my head. I got 14 laps left to go, and I'm going too slow. And so I ended up running a lot faster than I ever had, and I come across the line. I'm just dying, dog tired, and I can see my dad and Jared talking over there. And so I walk over, and my dad says, Jared, what do you think? And I'm looking at Jared, and he's smiling, looking at me, and I'm thinking, he's gonna be like, yeah, you're doing great. And he looks at me, he goes, you don't know, you can run faster than that. And I was, oh. But so he was a big influence in my life, and still will be. And I dig deep and hard when I think about him, trying to push myself to do better than I think I can. So, thank you.
Take this down a little bit. My name is Natalie Allen Muffy, and I ran for Q in the early 90s. And I was in 3rd grade when Q came to my house to recruit my sister to go to Idaho State. And I was just amazed, like, why is this college coach coming to our house? You know, it's summertime, and he had a couple of his athletes with him. And we just sat out on the back patio and just had supper. And my sister ended up going to school to run for him out there. I remember going out there. We stopped by your house one time for the Pocatello Marathon. And my dad was like, yeah, I slept in his basement. I was talking to my dad earlier this week, and that was the first year that he went out for the marathon and ran it. And he woke up, left their basement, and ran the marathon. And then I remember when I was a senior in high school, I had a lot of injuries, and not a lot of people were interested in having an injured high school athlete come and run for their college team. And it was a tough time, and Q gave me a chance. And I didn't run well my first few years, but you know, he said, we're going to be here for you. We're going to stand by you. And I'll never forget that conversation. We were back in Mike's office, for some reason not Q's office. And it just hit me like, so you're not going to just leave, you know, because I'm running horribly? And sure enough, he just stood by my side, and I ended up running really well. In my last year, I remember we had a track, well, it was a workout out on the track, and then we went to Q's house, and I think Kelly Smith was there for a recruiting visit. And I'll never forget, I met Q in my backyard having supper. And one of the last times that I had with Q in Colorado was having supper at his house. And we've had a few lunches since then here in Boulder with Patty and Fritz, and that's the epitome of Q. It's just being there for people and just talking, and it's not about how fast is it going or what have you. It's just good people, you know, just being kind and giving people a chance. And he definitely gave me a chance, and he's just, there's so many people here that I, you know, just from the era of running in my 40 years of life, that I'm like, he has touched so many people. And I am ever grateful for him touching my life. So thank you.
Well, we're halfway. First thing I want to say is just a reminder for people, please. We have lots of food here. We have food and drink, both sides, that we don't want to go away. So please stay, get something, pack it up, roll it up, take it with you, whatever. But but don't let it go to waste. So please use that. We want to thank everyone for being here and for being part of Jerry's life. Please feel free to mingle after closing and share stories with each other for a while. The guys here, the sons wanted me to say this, if I can get this out here, that Jerry wanted each of you to know that he became who he was because you all are who you are. In closing, we would like to extend our deepest appreciation to Sandy, who has been such an uplifting, caring, loving wife and mother. Thank you, Sandy.